Hello, welcome again. This is Philosophy 237, and I am Alexander Anderson, your instructor. Again, these are short supplemental videos to your reading. They are not meant to replace the reading. Uh, However, they should help clarify some of the more difficult parts of the reading and uh, help direct you to the parts that you should be aware of going forward in the reading. Anyway, so this is the introduction to ethics. We're going to ask simple questions such as what is ethics, why should I care, and why am I in this class? Um, so, what is ethics? Ethics is different than morality. Morality is simply what our beliefs are and what our practices are about right or wrong. Um, Ethics is specifically the study of morality using the tools available to us with philosophy. Right now, that should mean to you is that we're going to use reason. We will go further in next week on what we mean by the use of reason and philosophy. So ethics can be further split up into two groups. First, descriptive ethics. This is the study of what people's actual beliefs about moral truths and moral practices are. Go out in the world, we find moral practices, we find moral truths that people believe, and we describe those. Sometimes they aren't exactly what you think they might be, and this is why we need to do empirical research. Normative ethics, which is what we will be doing here, is a philosophical study to find out what our moral beliefs should be. This means that they could be different than what we find in descriptive ethics. We could find that the moral beliefs that most people actually have are not the moral beliefs that they should have. And um, possibly some of the beliefs that you do have will be challenged in this class, and you may change your opinions on things based on the philosophical study that we do. Bioethics is a specific kind of applied ethics, and it will be the focus of this course. Um, Specifically, we bioethics attempts to use the tools of philosophy to for problems related to medical practice, uh, medical technology, um, bio, biological technology, things like cloning, things like abortion, things like genetic manipulation, but also things like clinical ethics. What should we do uh, as medical practitioners? What should nurses do? What should doctors do? What should we do in the context of healthcare and medical care? Um, there is some distinction between bioethics and medical ethics, but you don't need to worry about that. Bioethics and medical ethics will be used exactly the same throughout this class. How about moral principles? Um, what are moral principles? What might be moral principles? Um, if we were to describe a moral theory, what are the things that we think it might have? Um, Now, these are not universal to all moral theories. Some people disagree um, whether morality should have all of these things, but these are things that we're going to be using as guidelines within the context of this class. First is normative dominance. Um, Things like artistic norms, cultural norms, they are going to be secondary to moral norms. That is, if morality tells you to do something, that's a stronger telling you to do than what your culture or your um, artistic beliefs would be. This is something that we expect from moral theories. Like I said, it's not something that necessarily is the case. Another one of those types of things is universality. Moral norms should apply to all relevant, at least similar situations. If it is immoral to lie, it's immoral to lie in all cases, and it doesn't become moral to lie at certain points. Now, there may be exceptions to that rule. Maybe times when you can lie, but that's a sort of different thing. It still applies blanketly, whether no matter which culture you're in, no matter what city you're in, no matter whether you're working as a nurse or a doctor, whether you're um, in philosophy or medicine. Also, impartiality. Our moral norms should not favor a group of people or an individual person over any other. Like I said, there are some uh, moral theories where this is not true, such as egoism, where one should favor yourself over anyone else. But for most moral theories, this is something that is true. The last one, which I think will be the biggest focus of this class, is reasonableness. Um, Norms must be backed by reasons. They cannot simply be arbitrary. There must be some reasoning or logic behind it. Um, we will go more into that next week. Moral objectivity. Uh, Objectivity is something that's often misunderstood by um, students. It is not simply moral absolutism, which is the belief that there are no exceptions to morals, and they are simply applied the same way absolutely everywhere, and very harsh standards. Uh, no, objectivity is simply that what grounds a moral, uh, what makes something moral is something outside of our preferences or desires, or it's not uh, it's not set by you. It's it's set outside of a general culture, a general yourself, a specific group. Uh, Now, the opposite of that would be moral relativism, um, and this is the belief that there are only relative truths. That is, your a certain act, such as euthanasia, could be wrong uh, for one person, and it could be right f- for another person, but it's more one person. Uh, what it means for it to be wrong is uh, this person disapproves of it, whereas sub person A's morality, this person approves of it, therefore it's right. There are two different kinds of moral relativism. One is subjectivism, that is, when it's based on your own opinions. One is cultural relativism, where it's based on the opinions of a group, usually a culture. Um, However, this is different than what I like to call the sort of unsophisticated example of you have your truth and I have my truth. Um, and this is because two um, a two truths cannot contradict each other. For example, uh, if if one of your friends says that the Yankees won on an Aaron Judge home run in the ninth, uh, yesterday. And another friend said that the Yankees actually lost when Judge struck out in the ninth. These are incompatible. And so one has to be true. Um, One friend is simply wrong about this, and you can't. The fact that he has an opinion is not does not say that there's a certain truth uh, of said your friend. Um, for the most part, we're going to treat more ethical disagreements in the same way. Um, it's not as easily to figure out as just looking at the box score, um, but it doesn't. That doesn't. It doesn't follow from that that ethical claims cannot be true or false. Um, so throughout most of this class, we are going to say that moral disagreements function like other disagreements. If two people do really disagree, both of them can't be right. There has to be a case of the matter of whether something's moral or not. All right. So these are the four principles that we'll be using. These will become more important next week as we talk about moral theories, because we try to keep all of these principles in mind, but some moral theories, as we'll see, treat some as more important and some as less important. For example, autonomy is your capacity for self-governance choosing what you wish to do for yourself. Um, some moral theories think this is the most important thing. Others think it's far less important. Same with beneficence. Uh, we should do good to others and avoid doing harm. A part of beneficence is non-maleficence, which is simply doing no harm. Some moral theories think beneficence is important. Some think only non-maleficence is important. Uh, the fourth one is utility, which is what produces the most good over bad for all concerned. Now, all of these, as we'll see, will conflict in certain instances. Sometimes, uh, what's what's best for utility harms autonomy or beneficence. Sometimes what's best for utility for the whole is going to be non-beneficial for a single person. These are the things that we will be working out, and these will be the focus of the next readings and lecture.